James. Oh, I'm gonna leave that in. The intro plan was going to be me screaming down the mic, James, mother Cameron, baby. But I just clogged myself with the mic instead. And sod it, that's your intro. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. Well, we have waited 13 years for this very moment. We spent those years watching fan-edited or spoof trailers for the sequel. We were told that it was coming, only to be met with a never-ending series of delays. Some of us actually doubted whether it existed, but finally, after 13 years, since the original film first hit cinemas, it is here. The long, long awaited sequel to Astro Boy. Or not. Instead, here's a review for like a little indie film called Avatar: The Way of Water. I really want a sequel to Astro Boy. After far too long, James Cameron welcomes audiences back to the wondrous landscape of Pandora. We reunite with Jake, Sully, and Neytiri as they raise their family. However, when a new threat arises and forces them to retreat from their home, the Sully clan seeks refuge amongst a new tribe away from the forest, as they learn to embrace the way of water. F*** you to anyone who has ever doubted James Cameron. Why would you? This dude prints money like it's as simple as him making toast for breakfast. He made the greatest sequel of all time with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He swept the Oscars with his historical romance epic Titanic. And he already blew audiences' minds back in 2009 with the first Avatar. And people thought he would miss with this? With Avatar: The Way of Water? Cameron doesn't miss. And Avatar: The Way of Water is just another example of why James Cameron is a pioneering visual storyteller. Sure, there may be other filmmakers that I prefer, but no one operates on the same level as Jim Cameron. No one. The technical and visual excellence showcased here are the best ever put to screen. The motion capture technology has advanced far beyond a discernible difference between what is real and what are effects. That thought never crosses your mind, not even for an instant. Pandora is real, as are the Na'vi that inhabit it. Look at this one shot from the trailer. How? How can you tell me that this isn't real and is instead a fully CGI shot? But what I really love is that the geography and world building of Pandora remains so immersive. Take this from someone who went to the Pandora that they've built Animal Kingdom in Disney World. To say that both of them have the same level of immersivity is like the highest compliment I think I can personally bestow on the visual effects of this film. And whereas in the first we explored the skies and the forests of Pandora, here we're back in Cameron's celestial home, I feel, and that's the water. And to pull this off, Cameron and his team actually built the technology, they built the cameras to film motion capture underwater. And the results are stunning. I feel like I'm going to run out of superlatives to describe this film, so if you ever find me repeating myself in this review, I'm really sorry. The design and imagine that it takes to not just come up with Pandora to begin with, but allowing us to explore these new corners and new ecosystems of this world is nothing short of visionary. And to think that Cameron is probably going to top that with the upcoming sequels.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
The only technical element that I wasn't 100% on was the high frame rate. I briefly explained it in my review for Gemini Man, but just to go over it again, most films that you and I would typically watch are comprised of 24 frames per second. That means that there are 24 shots that are taken by a camera over the span of a single second. Avatar: The Way of Water was shot in 48 frames per second, which means that there are double the images being taken, still over the same length though. What this would typically mean is that the on-screen visuals look a heck of a lot smoother, and typically can help action scenes give them that extra dose of adrenaline and frenetic energy. However, in doing so, it can make things a little unnatural, because this just isn't the way that we have gotten used to watching film. And lo and behold, our eyes do not operate on a frame rate basis. Now, truth be told, I am a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to the high frame rate style of filmmaking. At points, as I mentioned, it helps encompass the scope of an action scene, but at the same time, it can look a little video gamey. I think it's a very Marmite piece of tech. Ultimately, what ends up working in Avatar: The Way of Water's favor is that because it is such a long movie, you just kind of have to accept it. I'm not fully on board with it, or at least as much as I think James Cameron would like me to be, but I got used to it. It didn't bother me as much as it did in Gemini Man. It was fine. But whilst we're on the topic of things that didn't quite work out for me, there are a very, very small handful of elements to Avatar: The Way of Water that I wasn't huge on, but none of these, I want to stress this, none of these in any way dampened the film for me. One almost universal critique of the 2009 original was that its story wasn't all that original. We've seen a lot of narratives like this, and for the sequel, I did appreciate the fact that it isn't as original, and there are some very unique elements to the story as we go along. I do think that there are quite a few retreads that we didn't necessarily have to go down, as well as the fact that in this 3-hour plus runtime, there's too much that is crammed in. All of it is fascinating, but I can't help but feel that there might have been chunks of this film. Maybe you could have shaved like half an hour off and easily transplanted it into the third film. It wouldn't have diminished our immersivity of Pandora, but it might have just helped that pacing feel a little tighter. For instance, there's a group of villains in this film that get introduced way too late on, and we get a big chunk of screen time dedicated to explaining them, but I feel like that could have been introduced earlier into the film, and you could have just had that as a narrative through line, as opposed to suddenly revealing them in about 2 hours in, and it'd be like, okay, well, yeah, these guys are bad now. We're going to focus on them. I was a little blindsided by it. I mean, I got the idea of James Cameron wanting to explore whale hunting as a message within this film, and it comes off very endearing, but I think it just could have been handled, in terms of its introduction, a heck of a lot smoother. I also think that it's a little wobbly in terms of its structure. Me and my girlfriend pointed this out, is that it feels like 3 1-hour-long episodes of the best television show on the planet. What you've got is the first hour is like an epilogue to the first movie, and then the remaining 2 and a bit hours are like the next chapter of this saga. But, I mean, that's really it for my negatives. I don't think there's anything crucial that will diminish your overall enjoyment for the film, because it definitely didn't for me. It was great to see Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldaña return and crush it in these roles. Stephen Lang also does return, but detailing how is too much of a spoiler, so I'll leave it at he's back and he's great. And the same goes for Sigourney Weaver. I really wasn't sure if what they set up with her new character Kiri was going to work, but you just find yourself trusting Cameron's vision and going with it. And in that sense, alongside Kiri, it was the children in this film that really carried it. I think the majority of them are all relative newcomers, or at least only have a handful of credits to their name, but to effectively lead one of the biggest films of all time is truly impressive. I'm also really interested in the character of Spider. He gives off these Tarzan vibes, but there's layers to his character that they begin to peel apart in this sequel, but I think will properly be explored later. I honestly think I've covered everything that I need to. At this point, if I haven't been able to convince you to go and see this movie, then I haven't fulfilled what I set out to do. And also, I know that times are incredibly tough right now, and especially as we get close to Christmas, everyone's wallets and purses are that bit much tighter. But if you are interested in seeing this, and if you've listened to this and you are really wanting to give this film a go, and you are able to, I cannot stress enough how important it would be to see this film in IMAX. It is the way that this film was made to be seen. It was shot to be seen this way. It is mind-blowing how well Cameron utilizes the technology for this film. It is hands down the best film I have seen in IMAX. And I think especially with just how crap these last couple of years have been for a lot of us, I feel like we could all use just an escape at this point. Even if it's only temporary, an escape is very welcome. Avatar: The Way of Water is the pinnacle of blockbuster filmmaking, and a reminder why you should never doubt James Cameron. The scope and spectacle of this film is beyond description and will take your breath away at numerous points. The old characters are fun to reunite with, but the newbies are really exciting to watch. Everything from the action to the score is executed to maximize the experience as much as possible. Are there flaws? Of course. But do I give a damn? Absolutely not. By the time the credits rolled, I had to come to the unfortunate realization that it was time to leave Pandora. But Christ almighty, am I so excited to go back again. I'm going to give Avatar: The Way of Water a 9.5 out of 10. Anyway guys, those were my thoughts on Avatar: The Way of Water. Let me know, have you had a chance to see this film yet? What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, in this review, I said that Avatar: The Way of Water was the best film I have seen in IMAX. So I'm curious, what is the best film that you have seen in IMAX? Let me know in the comments. But that is all we have time for here today. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.